Well, who do we have here today? Good morning. How's everybody doing? Alrighty. Hey, welcome, guys. Nice to see you all. We're going to be spending the next hour or so together, so let's make it fun. I hope you guys are ready and willing to spend some interesting time. I hope you all had an excellent week and put your time to good use and practice and played your guitar like good boys and girls. I know you did. I know you probably had some fun this week. So I want to hear all about it, and I want to see who's stayed out of trouble and who hasn't. We have a lot of great stuff lined up for the show today. A lot of good questions, a lot of good topics that we're going to discuss. And I want to start. I want to get into it. So let's do it. As you guys know, Addicted to Gear, we're all here. We're here every week because we all are. Can we say it all together? Addicted. That's right. So today's show 252, and sometimes people ask me, how do I know if I have this gear addiction that you're talking about? So I put together a little topic, a little series of topics. Let me see. Is that better? Somebody's saying my volume's a little low today. How's it now? Is it better? Give me a thumbs up, guys, because sometimes I mess around with the settings and things get a little out of whack. Is it good? Is it better now? All right, good. So, as I was saying, many times people ask me, so how do I know if I'm addicted to gear? And I put together a list of questions that you can ask yourself. And then you can find the answer real quick. So I'm going to have some fun with that, and I'm going to be giving you some pointers. I'm just going to lower the volume on this thing. I got my guitar here, and I just want to make sure it's not too noisy. I'm going to probably mess around with it a little bit later. Casey says Addicted is a great song by Dan Seals from the late 80s. I didn't even know that was a song. See, I learned something new already, and the show's only been started, couple of minutes. All right, so here are the questions you can ask yourself if you're new to the show. Oh, by the way, guys, if you are new and you're lingering in the background, you got to subscribe to be able to chat, and I highly recommend you guys jump into the chat because that's what makes it fun. Otherwise, it's pretty boring. And so if you're here for the first time and you're wondering why we do this, it's sort of a support group for people that are, just can't stop buying gear. And so these are the top 10 questions you can ask yourself and figure out whether or not you have this affliction that we call gear addiction. Kind of rhymes. Affliction, gear addiction. All right. So number one, you say, this is the last one. Every single time you buy something and you never mean it. That's probably a good sign that you have some degree of guitar addiction. Now, number two, you spend more time organizing your pedal board than you do actually playing guitar. If anybody here is guilty of doing that, raise your hand. Number three, you know the difference between a brown sound and a transparent overdrive, and you care. That is a definite sign that you probably have gear addiction. Number 4 here. You have guitars you haven't played in months, but you'd still fight someone who suggests you sell one. I could relate to that. And some of these you might find funny, but in an awkward kind of way, because you can identify some of these things that I'm saying here. When I mention that, you can kind of identify that that's you, okay? The next one, number 5, you watch gear demos of pedals you already own, just to reassure yourself you made the right choice. How many of you have done that? Don't lie, be honest. I think you guys know what I'm talking about here. All right, number 6, you judge other players' tone before they're playing. Priorities are right, Tone first, playing second, right? Is that you? Does anybody identify with that? Your idea of a fun Friday night is tweaking amp settings and then restringing guitars while watching rig rundown videos. I can't think of a better way to spend a Friday. Can you? Number 8, you uttered the phrase, I need, I need this for tone variety about your 5th Telecaster. I think, don't look behind me, but if you do, you probably will spot 5 Telecasters behind me there. Number 9, you can't walk past a music store without just checking what they got. Dangerous words, right? I did that last week or a week and a half ago when I came back with a guitar. So I know that's close to the heart for me. And then number 10, your non-stop music friends have stopped asking questions. So your non-musician friends have stopped asking you questions. They know there's no saving you, right? And this might apply to your friends, to your wife, your girlfriend. You know who I'm talking about. That person in your life who just has stopped struggling and just realized that it's a lost cause. So if you can identify with one or more, or maybe all of those questions or those profiles that I've just listed, you probably have gear addiction, in which case you're in the right place, because this is what we're all about here. And disclaimer, we're not going to help you with it. It's probably just going to get worse, okay? So if you're here today, just know that, we're not here to get rid of it. We're probably just here to encourage it. So you come in at your own risk. Yeah, David says, I don't have a guitar with that pickup configuration. I've said that too a couple of times. So you can relate, David, huh? Yeah, man. I know what you're saying. So if you guys are relating, and I think some of you are, Paul Taylor says, it's like you're reading my mind, Tony. Hey, man, we're all here for the same reasons I told you. So as I said, if you're here, you're probably here for a reason. And there's no judgments, guys. There's no judgments. We're all here to support each other in this crazy thing we call gear addiction. Davis says, wow, I'm 10 for 10. Do I have issues? Dude, it's not, I don't consider those issues. I consider those qualities. I consider, I think we can all support ourselves that, nobody's perfect, but hey, if you get 10 out of 10, I think you're pretty damn close to being perfect. Steven says, I'm not an addict, I swear, but I need a Telecaster, because I never own one. Yeah, it's like I say to myself, I need a Telecaster, I don't have one in that color. And we all know how color affects tone, right? So, all right. Cool Tune says, I admit I have an addiction and I love it. Fight me. We're not here. We're lovers here, Cool Tunes. We're not fighters. We're lovers. Okay. So welcome everybody, and I hope you guys are have taken the opportunity to answer the poll question, because the poll question kind of ties in a little bit to the top 10 in a humorous kind of way. I figured I'd ask that question and see what happens, and I think some of you could also relate with that question. So I'll just read the poll question before we get into other things, so that you have an opportunity to answer while the show's going on. I don't want you guys to miss that opportunity to answer the poll, and we'll look at that towards the end of the show a little bit later. So here, let me just jump into the channel here. And if you guys don't know where the poll questions are, they're usually in the community section. And YouTube moves these things around from time to time. So sometimes they're there, sometimes they're somewhere else. But if you look in the channel and you look at the published posts that I put out, you'll probably see it. So the poll question is, how many guitars did you buy before realizing it's not the guitar that sucks? It's your playing. So it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek poll this week, but not really, because I think there's some truth in that. And I'm going to tell you where I fit in that series of answers. And you still have time to answer the poll. There's 126 votes so far, and there's about 10 comments. So please answer the poll question, all right? I'm trying something new today. I don't know if you guys spotted it while you were waiting before the show actually started, but I'm doing this thing where I've actually put up kind of a challenge for the super chats. So if we get 5 super chats during the show, I think it's $5 or more or whatever. I'll give you guys a sneak tour or peek or rundown of the studio and the gear and all the stuff that you don't usually see up front during the shows. And I'll do that during the next Sunday live show. So if you're interested in checking that out, it's kind of like a rig rundown. You can do that by just doing a super chat. And if we reach 5 super chats before the timer runs out, then we'll do that if you guys are interested. If you're not, no worries. It's all good. You know, we just keep on as per usual. I just thought it would be cool to, give you guys an opportunity to do something a little bit different. All right. Okay, so welcome everybody, and I see familiar faces here and some new ones as well. And I just want to say good morning. So I'll start from the bottom up today. I see Shane here, and searching for Tone, DMAC, Jack, Steven, The Nye, Ron Day. I'm reading things too fast here. Casey Lee, Russell Wiggins, Gene Calley, Stuart R, Paul Taylor, I said Davis, David Yamasa. I can't even pronounce your last name, David Yamasaki. Did I get that right? I always mess it up. Sorry about that, dude. I'll just call you David. It's easier. MFN. Who else is here? Profile Productions. Okay, we got a pretty full house. If I didn't mention you by name, I want to welcome you anyways, and thank you for joining. And let's get started. So today, I wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of things that I spotted in the news and the feeds this week. But before I get into that, I wanted to say, guys, if you have any questions and you want to talk about something specific that I haven't already mentioned, just put a question mark and put it in the chat, all right? I always give priority to the questions if you guys have any. Russell says, oddly enough, as much as I love guitar and gear, I don't think I'm addicted. 6 to 7 guitars is good for me, but that doesn't stop me from looking. 6 to 7 is kind of a light addiction, I'd say, Russell. You know, in my opinion, I think you're still at the lower end of the addiction spectrum. I think you're in a safe place. And Jack says, Tony, my wife knows if I go to a guitar store, I'm buying something. And I'm pretty sure it's not just picks or strings, right, Jack? Casey also says if you buy a guitar and don't restring it and set it up and play it before you buy another one, you're addicted. That's a good one. I didn't think of that, Casey. You're absolutely right. I've done that. Not recently, but I have done that. I'm going to be honest. And Ron Day says they need a hospital ward for us alone. That would be a cool hospital ward, though, I would say. If I have to be in a hospital, I definitely want to be on that floor. We'd kind of do our own One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest version, you know, but it would be like people addicted to guitar and gear, right? That'd be pretty cool. I want to watch the World Series. That's my sucky Jack Nicholson impression for today. Boomerang has a question. All right, let's answer the question. Hi, Tony. Need to inform, I've logged into your YouTube and commented within your channel other footage, reviews, and observed not all comments submitted are available for others to read. Okay, that's kind of strange and odd. Maybe after the show or wherever, if you reach out to me and let me know where that happened, I can take a look. I know that there are some filters in place. And if some of the words that are tagged as being inappropriate are used, then the comments will be hidden. by YouTube. So sometimes it could be something that you're just putting in there that maybe sounds like a word that shouldn't be in there, and it gets flagged as inappropriate and gets removed. I don't know, but I could take a look at it if you let me know where that happened and when. I could take a look. Thanks for letting me know, man. I appreciate it. I'm not always aware of all the crazy things that YouTube does to try and keep things, I guess, you know, people friendly or, you know, safe for work or whatever you want to call it. But I know that there are some things like that in place. Smart Alex says tariffs will stop an addiction. I'm not sure about that, Alex. I think people are creative enough to find other ways. You know, the tariffs are on, and I bought a guitar just recently, so I know it didn't stop me. It's going to have to get pretty serious. Let's hope it doesn't, but you never know. Shane says, 11 guitars, 1 bass now. I have to play bass in my new band. You got to justify the bass, right, Shane? That's cool. That's cool. Hey, as long as it's got strings, 6, 4, whatever, 5, 7, it doesn't matter. It still counts. And Dan of New Jersey says, I always have an old working pedal in the car, just in case I see something and was a trade in discount. That's a good safety backup. You know, maybe I should always have a guitar in my trunk or something, just in case an opportunity arises to have a quick, you know, unplanned jam session or something like that. Always be ready. John's here. Hey, John, what did you miss? Oh, man, you missed a whole bunch of good stuff. You missed our top 10 reasons or top 10 questions to identify whether or not you have gear addiction and a whole bunch of other good stuff. So next time, you got to be a little bit earlier. Searching for Tone says, sometimes if you use the emojis in a row, YouTube blocks it too. Really? I didn't know that. I guess it considers it like spam. See, there's all kinds of little things like that. I wasn't even aware of that one. I know that links, searching for Tone says, like a bat, poop, crazy face emojis, or if you try to post links. Yes, that's another one I forgot to mention. Generally, YouTube doesn't like links. So if you post a link to something, I know some people try to share links with me through the comments. That won't work. So don't do that. Otherwise, your whole comment will be blocked. Shane has a question. I decided I don't like my Boss CS3 pedal. What compressor do you gentlemen use? Tony recommends. Typically, I have two. I have a Keeley compressor that it does a really good job. And I bought another one from what's it called? From not Electrical Harmonics. I don't even actually have it here, or else I would show it to you. Exotic Effects is the one. So I have the Exotic Effects one, and I have the Keeley version, and those seem good. But what are you trying to achieve with the compressor, Shane? What's your goal there? Maybe there's better options for you. Let us know. We'll point you in the right direction. But those are the two that I use. Coulton says, I'm a conservative addict, 5 electrics, 4 acoustics. I don't need emergency help just yet. All right. Let us know. Let us know. We have an EpiPen ready here just in case we need it. Yeah, Jeff says Exotic SP, Shane Walton, love it. Yeah, that's the one I use. That's the exotic version that I use, yeah. Shane says, make us all moderators, Tony. Well, I mean, you guys are pretty tame. I don't think I need a moderator at this stage. But if things get out of whack, I'll let you guys know for sure. And David says the Keeley 4 button is great. That's the one I have. Like I said, I don't have it here in front of me. It's not on my desk at the moment, or else I'd show it to you. But I've shown it in the on the show before. Yeah, Smart Alex says every time I think about a new guitar, I just look at Ernie Ball, Music Man, JP15 and think, nah. Man, if you can walk away from a guitar, that's always a good indication that you have that, self-control. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of us lack, is self-control. Um, I've proven that over and over again. Nala says, I don't record or play live. Is there any point in a compressor for me? I mean, if you're not really playing live or anything like that, I mean, you don't really need a compressor. I think a compressor is it's a nice pedal to have, and it's icing on the cake. Really, if you want to be able to tweak, your overall sound, especially when you're playing live. But I would say like you'd probably get more mileage. If I had to choose between a compressor or an EQ pedal, I'll probably grab the EQ pedal first, and then grab a compressor pedal. You can do a heck of a lot with your tone with an EQ pedal. All right, cool. So I was just fiddling around with this bad boy today because I haven't played around with it very much lately. I took it out for a spin today, and I'm playing through my the Friedman. Tell me if that's too loud, guys. I might have the sound set a little too loud for those squeals early in the morning. If it is, I apologize. But let me see here. I have it dialed down with not very much bass. Yeah, there's not a lot of bass on that, but I'm too far. If I can't reach it, you don't need it. That's what I say. All right. So Boomerang says I was gassing over the Lambo Green Charvel SoCal, then the Ibanez RG550 Genesis Collection Desert Sun Yellow model. I will give it a month and see how I feel about a decision. Well, Boomerang, maybe you want to wait till you make your decision. I'm going to have a video coming out this week that I'm working on. And it's sort of going to fall into those categories of guitars. And maybe help you make the right buying decision. Just an extra thing to think about. I don't want to give it all away, but it's gonna be I think it's gonna be worthwhile for you to watch that video before you buy any one of those guitars. So just maybe hang on for another couple of days. I'm working on it right now. I haven't finished it. So Shane says I want a compressor to boost the volume on tap notes or slides after a tap note like Eddie does in the Beat It solo. So you want that kind of the ability to get the harmonics jumping out, right? Do I understand that right, Shane? Have you tried an EQ pedal? Because an EQ pedal will do a lot, especially in a live scenario when you're playing with other musicians. Just saying, A lot of times you get drowned out in the mix, and even if you use the compressor, you won't necessarily stand out. You can easily get drowned out by the bassist, and you'll never get those little notes to pop out clearly. So, do you have an EQ pedal right now, Shane? Hey, Mark. Good morning. How's it going? So I'm going to recap since I jumped into the show quite quickly and I didn't give everybody a chance. As I mentioned, we're trying something new today. We usually have, we always accept and appreciate any kind of super chats. But this week we're trying something new. I've basically set up a little, almost like a contest where I set up a goal. If I get 5 super chats during the show, $5 or more. I'll do the next episode of Addicted to Gear Live as a rig rundown type of show where I'll give you a tour of the studio and the guitars and the gear and the stuff that you don't usually always see. If you're interested in doing that, then all you got to do is do a super chat, $5 or more, and it has to be done within a certain amount of time. So I set it for 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, then that goes away, and if we don't achieve our goal, well, unfortunately we don't do it. So that's something that's available to you guys today, and it's a little bit different. Also, there's the poll question, so if you guys take an opportunity to answer the poll question, we'll answer that and look at that a little bit later on. All right, just wanted to put that out there so everybody's on the same page. And of course, if you have trickled in and you haven't subscribed, you won't be able to chat, so please chat, and then you can subscribe and you know, participate in all of the good chat. All right, guys. Sounds good. Let's do it. All right. So this week I noticed that there was a couple of interesting things. There's still a lot of talk about Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen, Alex Van Halen, Sammy Hagar, his new band, the whole thing that David Lee Roth is doing a new tour. I don't know if you've seen all of that stuff, and it seems interesting to me that even after all these years, there's still the legacy of Van Halen and what Eddie Van Halen primarily did with that band still going on. And the cool thing I noticed this week, a couple of interesting things, because I was a big Van Halen fan, and I still am, even though there's been a lot of back and forth banter and fighting amongst the band members and bad blood and all this kind of stuff. But there's a brand new Van Halen documentary out, and I don't know if you guys have seen that. I think it was posted a couple of days ago on YouTube. I haven't had the opportunity to watch it yet. It's I have the link somewhere. Maybe I'll share it with you guys. But it's a cool Van Halen documentary, and it's Eruption and Van Halen's debut, and it's a multi-part series, and it's I started watching it a little bit. I didn't have enough time to watch a lot of it, but it seemed pretty nice. It seemed like at least the episode that I watched seemed excellent. And had a lot of interesting information in it. So I'm always really happy to see new stuff coming out. And along with that, so I encourage you guys to check that out if you're Van Halen fans or if you were Van Halen fans. I don't know how many of you are. If you are, raise your hand. I think to a certain degree, Eddie's legacy and playing style and acrobatics, I think, affected most guitarists along the way. To one degree or another. So I'm definitely one of those. Now, along with the documentary, there was also mentioned that they discovered a bunch of new photos that were never actually published before of Eddie Van Halen. And I saw one or two of them, and some of them were pictures that were taken during concerts, him doing his usual acrobatics or rock star poses. He always had that mojo for being able to, pose with his guitar and look extremely cool. And I had a good time looking at some of those photos. I really like seeing that kind of stuff. I'm a geek when it comes to that kind of stuff. So for me, that's always like candy, if something new comes out, because I've seen most of it. There's not that much new stuff that usually is still floating around, but when that kind of stuff pops up, it's really cool. I think it's something that sparks my attention. I'm just going to take a sip here, guys. Let's see here. I'm just looking at some of the comments while I'm talking. And Smart Alex was asking here, anyone else here use a Tonex? I love it. Got rid of all my tube amps. So I had one. Sorry, I got an itchy nose. I don't know why. I hate when that happens. Smart Alex says that he's got a Tonex and he loves it. I did a review of the Tonex way back. I ended up selling it because for me it was a little bit redundant with all the other gear that I have. but I know a lot of people do like it. I think with the later updates that they've made it even better. The time that I actually reviewed it, I wasn't really a big fan of the software and the way the software worked. That was my big issue with it, but I think that's been resolved now. I think they actually made it better. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. And I hear that a lot more people now do enjoy the firmware updates that they've done. So I think they're moving in the right direction. I'm glad because at the beginning it was a little bit rough at the, just getting things off the ground. Thanks, Rich. Thanks for reminding everybody to give some thumbs up. I do appreciate that. If we can, that would be great. We have 50 people watching, 28 thumbs up so far. So a few more thumbs up wouldn't hurt. Boomerang says I put a Samsung SRK 1616 unit together 2 days ago. I was hard given one of the corners was rolled a little, not flatly folded squarely like the other three corners, bend corners, jeepers. How often do you actually work on stuff like that, Boomerang? Do you have a background in electronics or something like that? Hey, I appreciate the thumbs up, guys. I see a whole bunch of thumbs up going past. It means you guys are hitting that button. I appreciate it. Cool. Shane says, I make a conscious effort to try and listen to more modern new bands. Don't want to live in the past too much. I do the same, Shane. But unfortunately, a lot of the new stuff sucks. I would love the new stuff to sound better than the old stuff, but often it doesn't. So like I resort to going back to the old stuff just to kind of keep me sane. A lot of the new stuff doesn't even have guitar in it, and that's it's kind of weird. It's coming to the point where if you hear a guitar solo on the radio today in modern music, it's kind of like it makes you feel weird because unless you're listening to an oldie station where they play more of the classic rocks, there you would hear the guitar solos and guitar influenced music all the time, but on the new stations, it's rare if you hear guitar. So yeah, that's something I've noticed. Not a good thing. So going back to what we were saying about Van Halen, so the photos came out, and I thought that was cool. Eddie, actually, one of the big things right now is that where was that? Sammy Hagar came out with a new song. I listened to it this morning. Did you guys hear that? So he released a new song, a new single, and it's supposed to be a tribute to Eddie Van Halen. And at first I'm like, here we go again. Sammy's riding the coattails of Eddie, trying to drum up some more sales and whatnot. But after I listened to the song, I actually thought it was pretty good. Now, I'm gonna give you my impression and take this with a grain of salt. I like the story. So Sammy says that he had a dream, and in his dream Eddie was in it, and he basically wrote the song for Eddie, and it was kind of like a combination of things, almost like Sammy saying thank you to Eddie for giving him the opportunity, and for him having that lifestyle, for being in the band, and basically his love and respect for Eddie, and sort of like saying thank you, goodbye. Thank you. I appreciate what you've done, and basically saying like he loves him and he appreciates it, and he wants to end things sort of in his own mind on a good leg, on a good foot. So I listened to the song. I'm like, let me hear this thing, and it's actually pretty good. It rocks pretty well. Now I have to say that although Steve Vai is an excellent guitarist, I love Steve Vai, I still don't think he can do the Eddie thing. And it's weird for me to say that because Steve is like a guitar virtuoso. He has so much ability when it comes to playing guitar, yet it still sounds like a facsimile of Eddie's playing close but no cigar type of thing. It doesn't have the same emotion. That's the only way I could kind of phrase it. It's like the technique is there, the playing ability is there, but the emotion is not. I don't feel it the way I felt it with Eddie. So I don't know if it was that rawness or spontaneity or what. It's just I feel that's what's lacking in the guitar playing. But mind you, the song rocks. I like it. I think it has a really nice groove to it. Sammy Hagar did an excellent job with the singing on that. And I'm not a huge Sammy Hagar fan, I'm gonna say. I was more in the David Lee Roth camp before he became a little bit too flaky. I mean, David was always flaky, but doing the flaky thing when you're a rock star in the early days can fly. When you're still doing the flaky things today, it's kind of weird. And unfortunately, that's I feel he's still trying to do that. And on that same topic, if you guys are doing the David Lee Roth watch, he's actually doing a tour right now. He started a full show, and I think it's the first time he's been touring in more than 5 years. And I think there's some videos online where you can catch him. If you Google M3 Rock Festival, I think there's a whole bunch of pretty high resolution videos of him playing a whole bunch of songs from the Van Halen days, including all the hits, Panama Unchained, Jamie's Crying, Hot for Teacher, all that stuff. He's got a pretty solid backing band. His voice, it hasn't really changed. It's hit and miss depending on the song that he's doing and how he's doing it. And, he seems like the goofy uncle right now. That's the thing. He's got the short hair. He's still leather clad and, doing the whole rock star kind of thing and trying to do that. But it doesn't have the same impact at his age. So I don't know how long he's going to be able to do that. There are some David Lee Roth fans that are probably still going to want to catch him playing. But, I like to see what's going on. And my hat's off to him if he can still do it. Good for him. If he can keep it going for as long as he can, it's fantastic. The only other thing that I want to say on this topic of Van Halen and the whole band and everything, it's just a shame that there's still this bad blood. Because there's been a lot of opportunities for them to kind of make up and let bygones be bygones. But every time I read something, there's always something negative that pops up. And recently there was another article talking about how Alex Van Halen is threatening Sammy Hagar. He doesn't want him to be playing Van Halen stuff. And, Sammy opened up about all of this, talking about the strained relationships with Alex Van Halen. They haven't spoken apparently in over 2 decades. That's a long time. And then, Sammy claims that every time he tries to include Van Halen material in his projects, Alex lawyers swoop in, shut it down. So, Alex doesn't want Sammy to be doing Van Halen stuff, I guess, without his approval. And that's why there hasn't really been a project, full-fledged Van Halen project or tribute or anything like that. So it's a real shame that this is happening even after all this time, because the music was great, the band was solid, and it made a lot of people happy. But unfortunately, there's still that bad blood going on, and there's not much you can do about it. It is what it is. They were unfortunately a dysfunctional band, let's be honest. But hey, it is what it is, right? Let me get back to the comments and questions here. So Shane says, gotta look forward. Tony, Nova Twins have a lot of guitar. Nita Strauss last album was great. Melina Moye, great rock blues guitar. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of there still is a lot of artists out there that are doing the guitar thing. They, at least in my area, they don't get much radio playtime. So unless you're really searching for them and maybe adding them to your playlist or whatever. You're not gonna just stumble on them on the radio, unfortunately. So yeah, there's that. Um, who else have I been listening to recently that I thought was really cool? Marcus King. I don't know if you guys know Marcus King. He mainly plays the blues. Got a great voice and plays really well. Kind of a goofy looking guy, but he can make it work. I think he's in somewhere in Georgia, or I'm not even sure where. Maybe Carolina. Not really sure, but I don't know where he originates from, but if you Google Marcus King, you'll surely find him on YouTube. He seems to be a very popular up and rising artist right now that's making a lot of waves. I kind of like his stuff. John says, new bands I have liked over the past few months. Bamble di Pezza, an Italian punk band. Never heard of them. Also Dogma, like Ghost, but five satanic looking nuns. All right, I'll add that to my list. Whatever works. Satch, not Vi. Did I say Steve Vi? Sorry. I meant Joe Satriani. Did I say Vi before? Sorry. Yeah, I kind of sometimes when I mention one, I think of the other automatically. So it must have been a little Freudian slip there. All right, Wolfie's new video is pretty intense right off the top. I love the cameos as well. I did see that a little bit, Wayne. And if I'm not mistaken, the director that actually shot the video or worked with him was the same director who made the movies El Mariachi. Remember El Mariachi? That low budget film that was the predecessor to what was the other movie called? Shoot, with Antonio Banderas. El Mariachi. What was the other one called? I can't remember the name now. But you know who I'm talking about. The violent movie with Banderas and Salma Hayek. And he had the guitar case that he would carry around with him with the weapons in it and get into a whole bunch of trouble. Do you guys remember the name of that one? Robert Rodriguez. Yes, that's the director. That's the man. Yes. Yep, that's it. He's the one who directed that movie for Wolfgang. Did you know that? Gene wants to know how the Dragon Telecaster project is coming along. It's been put on ice, Gene. It's still here. It's the guitar is just hanging here on my right, just waiting for me to do stuff. I have the parts, and I just don't have the time. But I will get to it. I end up doing a lot of those projects in the wintertime, just because there's nothing to do. When we go into the dark days of winter, I like to work on my guitars. But during the summer, there's so many other things that I'm busy with. It's kind of hard for me to make time, but I should. No, it's not the Mexican. What was it called, man? Desperado. There we go. David's got it. That's the one. He made Desperado, El Mariachi. He made the one with the vampires. What was that one called? Man, my brain. The one with the vampires, Dusk Till Dawn, I think it was called. Cool Tune says, anyone hear of Charlie Edwards, Canadian young guitar player? I personally never heard of him till I hear my nephew doing some gigs with him. No, I don't know him. I would have to look him up. What kind of style does he play? Is he like one of these virtuosos or just an up-and-coming popular guy? That's right, Mark. He shot his first films, El Mariachi, all by himself. It was kind of like he was trying to teach him the art of filmmaking, and I think he shot that movie in 2 weeks with a budget of like $7,000, and he basically did everything himself, including filming, sound effects, lighting, everything. you know. David says, "Oh, Selma Hayek in Desperado. Yeah, that's the one, man. And there's a really steamy scene in that one between her and Antonio Banderas. I remember that clearly, even though I was young when I watched it. I gotta watch it again. I gotta see whether or not it stood the test of time." Shane says, the agree. Van Halen basically had one superstar musician surrounded by three mediocre ones, not like like Zeppelin, where everyone was a superstar. It only takes one guy most of the time. I think they were really, they were pushed forward by Eddie Van Halen's undeniable ability on the guitar. You know what I mean? Although Alex Van Halen is not a shabby drummer, and you look at the rest of the band members. I mean, David at the time had the usual persona of the rock star lifestyle, and he actually did live it. He wasn't faking it back in the day. So that definitely helped, and also the bass player. I mean, he had a great voice, solid bass. I think I think he had the best, almost, if not the best, maybe the second best voice in the band at the time, hitting all those high notes and everything. John says, "Stop mentioning Salma Hayek. I'm trying to concentrate on the gear conversation, and you're throwing me off." Hey man, she wasn't hard to look at back in the day. I give you that much. I don't know how well she's doing today. I haven't seen her recently. I think the last I heard is she married some sort of a billionaire, a French billionaire that has some kind of a fashion empire. I think she's going to be okay. I think she's going to be just fine. All right. So, other topics that I wanted to mention today, beyond the Van Halen topics. So there was Sammy Hagar. Also, I did see that AC/DC started a new tour. And I know we're talking about the old farts today, but I mean, these are the guys that are still, in my opinion, you know, the real rockers, not the fake rockers. You know what I mean? The guys that have been through it, have lived through everything, and are still doing it. And I can't believe they're still doing it, but they are. So, hats off to them. What am I supposed to say? It's like, they're all doing stuff that I wouldn't be able to do, that's for sure, in terms of longevity. So they started their tour. I don't know if they're coming to Canada. If they would come, I'd probably go. I know that they're doing the quite an extensive set list, and they're doing all the good stuff. I have a copy of this in front of me here, and they're starting off with "If You Want Blood, You've Got It." Then they're jumping into "Back in Black." Then they're doing "Demon Fire," "Shot Down in Flames," "Thunderstruck." Believe it or not, "Thunderstruck" is still on the charts. It's incredible after all these years. It's still on the charts. It's not necessarily high up there, but it's still on the charts. So that one did extremely well over the years. One of my favorites: "Have a Drink on Me," "Hell's Bells," "Shot in the Dark," "Stiff Upper Lip," "Highway to Hell," "Shoot the Thrill," "Sin City," "Rock and Roll Train," "Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap," "High Voltage," "Riff Raff." I mean, all the good stuff. "You Shook Me All Night Long," "Whole Lotta Rosie," "Let There Be Rock." And of course, they're going to have the encores, which is TNT. And "For Those About to Rock, We Salute You." And that is a great show, I think. Any of you going to watch, or have any of you? I've never actually seen a AC/DC concert live. Unfortunately, I missed it. In the early days, didn't get the opportunity. So, anybody here had the opportunity to see them live? I know they're great concerts. Unfortunately, they're so packed that if you want to get any kind of decent seats, you're going to be kind of out of luck. But just feeling the energy, it's pretty cool. I've gotten into AC/DC more now than when I was younger. When I was younger and they were still new, I wasn't really into them. They weren't my bag. I was more into Led Zeppelin. I was more into Van Halen and stuff like that. Not that much into AC/DC. But as I matured, I like it, man. It's on my playlist. When I jump in my car, my phone connects to my car radio and automatically starts playing an AC/DC song. And say what you will, there's no better music to be driving to than AC/DC. It makes you like press that gas pedal down a little bit further as you're driving. Kind of gets you going. It's perfect driving music, I would say. David says Halle Berry and Swordfish. I'm sorry, David, but I was never, I'm not a big Halle Berry fan. I don't think she's, I mean, she's not ugly, but she's not my favorite. Not my type of woman, I gotta say. Now, if we're talking, anyways, I don't want to get into that right now. We're not going to be talking about that. In case my wife is watching, I don't want to start talking about that kind of stuff. But so Shane says Sting came to town, but tickets were 250 a pop. Yeah, I think back in the day when I actually went to see the Police, the tickets were about $300 a pop. Presley says ZZ Top wins. Wins what? For guitar? For driving, you mean? Yeah, ZZ Top would be in the top two, I would say. For sure. D-Max says I saw them in a 1988 Blow Up Your Video tour. 88, huh? Rexomatic is here. Good morning from Phoenix. Band rehearsal this afternoon, working on songs for new album. Awesome, dude. By the way, I just wanted to give you guys an update. Last week, I did do the band rehearsal with the new guitar. For those of you who were not here last week, I ended up buying a new guitar, which is a Charvel. Um, it's a SoCal, and I wanted to try it out, so I brought it to the rehearsal. The guitar did extremely well in terms of different sounds and the ability to play really nicely. I'm extremely happy with the guitar, but the sound in the room we were in was terrible, I have to say. We were trying a new place. I think I mentioned this to you guys before. Our usual place where we would rehearse closed down. And I'm heartbroken because that place was great. We were playing and rehearsing there for years and years, like easily 15, over 15, almost 20 years. Same place, great place, good sound, great rooms, nice ambiance, clean, all the stuff you can hope for in a rehearsal studio. They closed down, unfortunately, and I hope it's not permanently, but it looks like it might be. So we had to resort to our second choice place, which is further away. And to be honest, very small. They only have a couple of rehearsal spaces, so they're always booked. And we decided to take a large room because they called it the loft. So I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be good. It's going to be big. I didn't actually look at it. We booked it. It's terrible. It was terrible. It was basically a garage, you know. And the sound was terrible. It was like you had, no joke, a 3 second delay because the sound would bounce off the walls. I felt I was playing for Pink Floyd. Singer would sing, I'd hear him 3 seconds later because it was just bouncing around the room. Super tall ceilings and really hard surfaces, and the room was not treated properly, and I was very, very disappointed. Not going to be renting that place anymore. I'm gonna have to find some other place. I'm just not happy with the sound. So unfortunately, although the guitar felt great and I felt that it did extremely well, the sound overall sucked the bag. So I'm gonna have to find another place. There's not that many places in town that are not rat infested. I think one of the places I played at back in the day, I still have a scar from the bite I got from the rat. It's like you're dealing with that scenario. So it's really hard to find good places, and it's discouraging because a lot of these places just don't survive. Less and less people are playing music, and they're finding other places to rehearse, and it's just one of those things. So unless I build my own rehearsal studio, which is probably not going to happen, I don't have room for that. We're kind of stuck. So, anyways, we're going to try the best we can to get over the hurdle and keep things moving. But it's just like, unfortunately, it's a rough time for that. All right, let's jump into today's poll question while it's still fresh in my mind. So if any of you missed out on the first half of the video, I talked about the top 10 some kind of humorous ways you can figure out if you're gear addicted. And if you missed it, just go back and watch that. I think it's worthwhile. You'll probably identify with some of the things that I've said. So as a second part or continuation to that, I also had a poll question where I asked, how many guitars did you buy before realizing it's not the guitar that sucks, it's your playing? Now, I kind of say that jokingly, but not really, because honestly, a lot of us will end up blaming the guitar or gear for whatever reason, for our lack of talent, or patience, just maybe we're not there yet. And I think there's two kind of people in the world, right? There's people that think they're good guitarists and or that they've reached a plateau and they're really great, and other people, that are basically in denial. I don't think, if you're honest with yourself, I don't think a guitar is really an instrument you can master in one lifetime. You can become really good, but are you ever really happy with your playing? I think if you ask some amazing players out there, they're still struggling to become better. So I don't know if you ever get to the point where you say to yourself, I'm done, I've done it all. I've reached that place where I can consider myself a good guitarist. I don't know if that ever happens. So basically, that question has 4 potential answers. So the first one, which is the most popular answer, says the answer is just one. I'm painfully self-aware. So a lot of you out there, doesn't take much to understand that maybe, you suck at playing guitar, But generally, if you buy your first guitar, you're going to suck. It's rare that, you're buying your first guitar and you're an amazing player. That usually doesn't go hand in hand. So it's kind of normal that if you have just one guitar, you probably would fall into that category where you think you suck. And that's not a bad thing, because, you can only get better from there. So 46% of you said that's how you identify. The second most popular answer is 29% of you said, I lost count, still not convinced it's me. And that would be me. I know I suck at guitar. You know what I mean? I don't consider myself an amazing guitarist. And I keep on buying guitars, and I do try and fool myself into thinking like, by buying more guitars, you're going to automatically get better even without having to put in the work. That's not how it works. I'm painfully aware that that is the truth, that you don't need a bunch of guitars to become a better player. You can actually become a better player with one guitar and just focus on playing. But, the hunt and collecting and the love of instruments is a big part of the whole thing for me. So I'm okay with being a sucky guitar player and, still getting pleasure out of owning some really cool guitars and gear. I'm okay with that. I've come to terms. I've come to grips. So that's the second most popular answer. The third most popular answer is 2 to 3 guitars. Give it a fair shot before the truth hits. So yeah, 2 to 3 guitars. You've probably played guitar for a while. You've jump from one guitar to another just to make sure it's not the guitar, or it is the guitar and not you. And maybe you've come to realize after 2 or 3 that, yeah, it's me, And if I have to share, a spoiler with you guys, generally, it's not the guitar. All right, guys? I can guarantee you that. Most of the time, it's not the guitar. And the last most popular question in today's poll was 4 to 5. I was sure it was the guitar. 7% of you said that's how you identify. Now, the cool thing here is that there were some interesting comments, and I want to share this with you guys just so that you can get a perspective on how other people see this, and what's going on. So somebody here says my settings are dire, and switching them from Strat style to Les Paul style takes all day to find the tone. One day I will come where I will have the tones dialed in for both. So having trouble getting that right tone, that's a common issue for a lot of people here. Somebody else here says, I like guitars regardless of my playing ability. Same here. I like playing them, exploring their different tones, watching others play them, all the various configurations, amp, and gear that go along with them. I like seeing them hang on my walls. I like the way each guitar motivates me in different directions for songwriting. I have very few regrets from guitars I've purchased, sold, or given away. They have all added to the story of my life. How lucky we are to have been here during this guitar renaissance. Guessing as we head into a recession, we'll be making different choices. I have some satisfaction knowing just one guitar can bring years of creativity. My wish is that everyone finds a guitar they love to play so we can make music in challenging times. I really like that comment. That's from Rexomatic here, and I couldn't agree more, man. There's more to guitar than just playing the guitar. I mean, of course, that's the main part of it, but there's so much great, feelings that go along with playing guitar. And not only playing guitar, but even sharing that with someone else, right? Even if you suck at it. Playing guitar by yourself is cool sometimes, but when you play with someone else, it's like, non-verbal communication of feelings and emotions. And there's not a lot of ways humans can do that, but music is definitely one of them. And it just goes to say that it goes far beyond just your playing abilities, I think. Really like that comment, and I agree 100%. Someone else here says it's hard to have only one guitar when there's so many different necks and sounds and looks. Again, I agree. I mean, if you guys own a bunch of guitars, I know a lot of you do, that they're different. Every single one is different, right? And I keep on saying that a lot of people don't understand if you haven't played guitar or, hadn't had the ability to try a lot of guitars. And, my wife doesn't understand when I tell her that. I try and make her understand. It's like, but honey, they're all different and I love them all for different reasons, just like my kids, So just because you have 3 Telecasters, I guarantee you in a blind test, given one after the other, you'll be able to tell which one is which, or the fact that they're not the same guitar, And if you can't, well, that's a different story. So, cheers, guys. Just had a sip of water. I'm getting a little parched here. Shane says Jimmy Page's private guitar collection is rumored to be in the thousands, so there's that. I mean, all these guitarists that have made a living for a long time playing guitar, I'm sure they have amazing guitar collections, I'm sure he's not the only one to a certain degree. I know Eric Clapton had a whole bunch, and David Gilmour and all these play, Joe Walsh is an avid collector, and so on and so forth. So I wouldn't be surprised. But hey man, when you've been playing guitar for as long as they have, and I'm sure during the heydays people were probably throwing guitars at them, to try and get them to play their guitar or their new model. They've probably been given or gifted so many guitars they don't even know what to do with them. So Danielle says Jocelyn Gould, a Canadian international touring jazz guitarist, has said in her YouTube video she only owns one guitar. Okay, so you can do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, if you're there are people out there that don't see the point in buying a lot of guitars and are perfectly happy just playing with one guitar. And they're like, what's the difference? You know, whether I play this guitar or another guitar. You look at, Angus. We were talking about Angus Young earlier, and we're talking about AC/DC. He's basically played one style guitar his entire life. Now, I'm not saying it's the same guitar. I'm sure he's got a bunch of these guitars, but it's basically one style, the SG, over and over again. I haven't seen him playing. I don't think I've ever seen him playing any other guitar. Maybe some of you have pictures of him playing some other guitar, but I've never seen him playing a Strat or a Telecaster or something else. So he's been pretty happy with one style guitar basically his entire career. Modified Basement says, Tony, everyone can always learn to improve, but you definitely don't suck. Well, thank you for saying that, Modified Basement. Maybe I don't suck, but there's definitely many, 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 many other guitarists out there that can play circles around me. So, I'm not going to fool myself into thinking that I'm something that I'm not. I'm comfortable in knowing where I sit on that spectrum. Steven says, I read a comment on a jam track one time that said, I spent an hour pouring all the troubles in the world into my fretboard. Love it. Hey, I like that. That's very touching. I should actually, print that and put it on my wall. And it could remind me, that's one thing that I have to say about music, guys, and I'm sure you guys probably will agree with me. It's the best therapy in the world that there is. If you're playing guitar, if you have a bad day and you're playing guitar or things are not going right or whatever it is, it's just another way to get that emotion out without words. You can play your guitar hard, you can make it cry, you can make it sing, you can make it whisper, you can make it shout, and it's just another way for you to get that emotions, that emotion that you're feeling, that pent up frustration or whatever you have inside of you out. And it's cheaper than therapy. I keep on saying that, man. So for me, I know it really works. If I have any issues or I'm not feeling it that day or I just want to be left alone, grab a guitar, start playing, and by the end of it, I'm feeling better, I don't know, I can't explain why. It just works that way. Alrighty. My knees hurt says, I feel like my playing is regressing despite playing and practicing daily. Why do you feel that? Why do you feel that? Is it just your physical abilities? Is it just your hands? Your fingers? Is it just physical, or is it just like you've reached a plateau? Or I'm curious to know why that is. I think it's kind of normal to feel that way at a certain point in your life, and I don't think it's something to worry about. I think it's just a phase. I think you can get over that kind of stuff. Green Rumor says Angus has about 100 different guitars. If it's only 100, that's not bad. I think it's probably more than that. I would wager it's more than that. And Russell says, I think that most of us are better than we give ourselves credit for. I think you're right, Russell. I think you're right. I think it's normal for us to kind of put our playing down, Maybe we're a little bit too modest. And it's funny because depending on who you're playing for, you could think you suck, and then you play for someone and they're like, wow, that's amazing. How do you do that? So it's all in the eye of the beholder. After buying my first Stratocaster, says Dewey, I've learned I really don't like the sound. Yes, I had to buy one first to find out. Yeah, man, and you're not the only one who's told me that. And I've done it too, where I think it's not necessarily a guitar. It could be a guitar, but I've done it too, where I thought maybe something would be right for me. Mostly amplifiers. I tend to do that with amplifiers over and over again. Unfortunately, where I thought I'd like the sound and I thought it'd be right for me, and then it just wasn't. And I keep on rinsing and repeating that. Steven says music is the ultimate stress reducer. Music calms the savage beast. I think that's absolutely true. I think it definitely releases some kind of serotonin in your brain. And I think if they've probably done the exercise where they they do MRIs when somebody's playing music, and they can see, the different parts of the brain firing. So it definitely does something, and it's kind of like I think it's the same parts of the brain that fire when your subconscious takes over, if I'm not mistaken. It's a totally different part of the brain. Jeff says, Tony, I don't recommend this, but my guitar playing improved when my doc tried me on beta blockers to sort my high blood pressure out. Really? I don't know about that. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I'd be surprised. Jeff, maybe it was just coincidence. Maybe because you felt better. Maybe your impression changed. But I don't think beta blockers would really do anything. Not really sure. I'm not a doctor. So Joey Dono, Joey Dono. Yeah, that's a single cut PRS, Joey. This is a core model. Can you see it? SC 245. Beautiful guitar that I've had in my collection for a long time. Love this guitar. This is one of the rare guitars that I bought sight unseen. There's a funny story that goes along with this. I don't have a lot of bass dialed in. I'm playing through the Friedman here. No pedals. They're these pickups definitely have that more focused, a little bit of the top frequencies exaggerated, I would say, humbuckers. Shane says top 5 viewed guitar tabs. 1, Hotel California. Stairway to Heaven. Sweet Child O' Mine. Nothing Else Matters. Wish You Were Here. Thoughts. Sounds about right. People love those songs. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that they're top 5 in the list. I've played all of those songs before, so yeah. I can't disagree. I can't even play that song anymore. I haven't played that in years. I love those double bends. At the end of the day, if you can get those double bends right, what else are you guys learning how to play? Boomerang says top music shop licks of the 90s, Shane. And Jeff says they chilled me out. I kept noodling off. I kept nodding off, so he took me off them, and I went back to my usual sausage finger self. Yeah, beta blockers are not good for you, man. So yeah, you're better off controlling your blood pressure other ways if you can. There was a comment here about P90s. Rupert says, you don't seem to be much of a P90s guy. That's not true, Rupert. I got P90 guitars, just not here. I'm not holding one right now, but yeah, I got one in a case right here. I can show it to you if you want to see it. I got a couple. Right now, there's only one that I have in the room. I have other guitars that have P90s. The one I have in the case is a P90 SG. I'll get that for you. Let me unplug this guy and I'll show it to you, all right? Just to prove that I'm not lying here. Give me a sec. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll get the case and I'll pull it out. Give me a second. The tricky part is switching the guitars without dropping one. Let me do you think the PRS will fit in this case? Let's find out. Never tried. Doesn't really fit, but I'm gonna leave it in there for the moment while I put this guitar down. This is what I hate, is just having to switch guitars without having an available stand. So this is one of the P90s that I have here. I don't think it's going to be in tune, but let's see. This is an SG, Gibson SG Classic P90s. Doesn't sound like it's completely in tune, but so there's a little P90 flavor for you guys, in case you were wondering. This guitar I picked up not long, well, actually I picked it up a little while ago on a whim, really. I was after the old SG Specials, and I couldn't find an SG Specials, and the SG Special does have P90s, and I decided, you know what, this is pretty close. It's got P90s, and it's got the stop tail and the tail piece, where the Special only has the tail piece, and I'd probably be happier with the stop tail and the tail piece for intonation reasons, so I ended up getting this one instead. And there's something to be said about that P90 sound. I don't know, I just love it. This is the, that was the bridge. This is the neck. This is the bridge. Yeah, it's out of tune. Sorry, guys. Let me tune it up. I'm probably torturing you guys playing out of tune like this, so let me just tune it. Yeah, definitely. It wasn't the case. And not only was that out of tune, I was playing in E flat. Better. What am I playing the guitar through? I'm playing through this guy, the Friedman here. That's it. So the P90s are basically like a combination of, it's kind of like a pumped up single coil. And it kind of, it's almost like a Telecaster kind of thing, but with a little bit more, you know, oomph, bottom end. I think there's a place for everything. And I get people that don't like the P90s or maybe prefer the humbuckers. It's just a different flavor. I like to have both, you know. These are a little bit noisier, But you know what? Who cares? Once the drummer kicks in. So Michael wants to know what the signal pathway is. Sure, it's the Friedman. It's going through my aux box, so I can put it into my interface so you guys can hear it. And it's basically, I got it set up with some of the cab simulations and stuff. So I'm not actually plugged into this. I'm actually plugged into the Egnator cab, but it's not on because it would be too loud anyways. And then you would hear, you know, the sound coming through my interface, and then you would hear the sound coming through the speaker through the microphone, and it would be kind of weird. So I'm just playing it that way. But right now it's just the amp. There's no pedals. It's just going through the aux box. Whatever you're hearing in terms of delay or reverb is all through the aux box. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. So this one definitely has more top end. And the strings are really low. I gotta... Joey says, and you get that sympathetic vibrations from the other guitars in the room. That is true. That is true. So there you get an idea of what this guitar sounds like. The other guitar that I have here sitting by my side is the one I bought, which is the Friedman. The Friedman. What am I saying, Friedman? Actually, you know what? Sorry. I didn't even have the neck pickup turned all the way up. Let me just turn it down. You can hear a lot more of the string on this guitar when I play it than the other one. I'll make you hear the Charvel, just to give you the idea of what a sort of high output pickup sounds like compared to this one. So these pickups are definitely hotter, way hotter than the P90s. Let's see here. So you can hear the difference between the lower output pickups and the higher output pickups. The higher output pickups might be more grindy sounding, but they lose a little bit of the nuances. And the P90s that are a lower output, you can almost get more dynamics out of it. So it's interesting, you know, that once you play them side by side, you get to hear all that stuff. Michael says the P90s sound great. Thanks, man. Shane says, do guitars with pickguards and cavity routing have worse sustain than solid body guitars? I wouldn't say so. It's not just one thing, Shane. It's a combination of the entire way the guitar was put together. You can have a guitar that has no cavity routing at all and still doesn't sound good because of the wood that's being used, the type of wood, or it's really the sum of all the parts on the guitar. It's not just one thing. Rupert says pickups are the most important thing for me on an electric guitar. The rest is mainly ergonomics, although different bodies can affect tone. I do agree with you that pickups will have the most impact, right? It's kind of like a stereo system where, you can spend a lot of money on all the components of a stereo system, but if you have crappy speakers, it's still going to give you crappy sound. It's kind of like that with guitars. So yeah, you do want to have a nice playing guitar with nice components, individual parts, but at the end of the day, your pickups have to sound good. I think you understand where that comes from, right? I don't know how many people here play high output pickups as opposed to maybe lower output pickups. And maybe we can have a little show of hands who plays pickups with high output. I do feel like high output pickups are fun because you can definitely, it's more punchy. You can get more of those squeals happening and stuff like that. But I feel like harmonically speaking and dynamically speaking, the lower output pickups tend to give you more. Joey says the speaker is a big thing too. A good quality cabinet combo is gonna cover that tone better. I agree. And a 335 or a thin line Telecaster will sustain like mad. Absolutely. Because you're getting those, like you were saying earlier, somebody mentioned the sympathetic vibrations. As you're playing those guitars, it basically will resonate. It becomes a big resonator. That's one of the main reasons I love the 335 so much is when you're playing a 335 with a band live, there's no problem sustaining those notes into feedback if you wanted to. You can actually feel the whole guitar like live in your hands. That's really what I like. Rupert says lipstick pickups are low output. Never tried the lipstick pickups. Shane says high output. EMGs, baby. Shane likes the most output you can get, as much as you can get. Pump it up. Nothing wrong with that, man. Hey, if that's what you like, that's fantastic. All right, guys, we're turning the corner here. We're almost at an hour and a half that I've been talking. So unless there's other questions that you want me to answer, we're gonna start wrapping it up. What do you guys say? Are we good to close it up, or do you have any other questions? If you do, I'm willing to stick around a little bit longer. Joey says, so you can go high output but run less high gain on the amp, or lower output and run the amp a little bit hotter. Yeah, the thing is what I've discovered is like it's hard to when you're already maxed out, when you have a lot of output with your pickups, you're maxed out. It's kind of hard to regain that because you're already like redlining with the sound. So trying to smooth things out is a little bit hard. The other way, when you're lower output, you have more space to play around with that. So you can put a pedal in front of it. You can crank your amp a little bit more, or hit the strings a little harder. All of those things will allow you to get a little bit more of that natural gain out of your guitar, and you can get some nice complex tones out of it. But sometimes when you're just slamming the front of your amplifier with high output pickups, there's like nowhere else to go. So if you want that sound, that's fantastic. But if you're trying to get more, a little bit more variation in sound, you're going to kind of be limited there. Currently using Revolta with P90s and Hills headless with active humbuckers in rehearsals, and either SG Special or LP. Yeah. One of the nicest pickups that I have is a low output pickup made by a Canadian winder that I have in one of my PRS guitars behind me. They're not a core model, just an SE. They sound fantastic. Hey, Michael, I'm here live every Sunday. So yeah, if you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more, just tune in on Sundays. I'm here most Sundays, same time, same place. Joey says I have a Mark IV set up with fairly modest amounts of gain, and I have my PRS 5815. it's the best tone that I've made. Yeah, it's you know, keeping it malleable is the key, I think. You know, just trying to get something where you're not necessarily maxing out one way or the other. Underpowered is not good, overpowered is not good. You want to be somewhere like between 50 and 70%, I would say. Give yourself just a little bit of breathing room within that. I think that's the key. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed the show today. I had a good time with you guys and enjoyed talking to you guys as per usual. If you guys want to be part of the next conversation, then just tune in next Sunday. I'm here again. I'll be here again at the same hour, same place, and probably with another poll question for you guys. Michael has a question. I'm going to answer the question before I go. What amp combo is your favorite and go to most of the time? When you say combo, are you talking combo amp or are you just talking combination? Because right now, the ones that I'm playing most of the time are the ones that you see here. These are the ones that I normally play. So the Friedman, the Brunetti Plexi Man, or the Marshall Studio behind me, Studio Vintage. Those are the ones if I'm going for the Marshall sound. If I'm going for the Fender sound, I have the little Princeton behind me there, which I built myself actually. Or I have the Fender Supersonic, which is right there. Those are the ones I normally go to if I'm playing a real amplifier. Those are the ones I have here. Otherwise, I'm probably going through my Fractal. So yeah, a lot of tones to be had. And a lot of different ways you can get those great tones. So that's it for today, guys. I don't know how we did on our requests to see whether or not you guys would be interested in having a rundown of the gear. I had a little contest going, not really a contest, but a little opportunity for you guys to do super chats and maybe have a rig rundown next week. But I don't think we met our goal on that. So I'm gonna leave that for another time. Let me see here. If I just check it out, I don't think we did. But anyway, if we did, we'll have one next week. If we didn't, we'll have another opportunity. Maybe next week we can try it again. All right. Have a great week, guys. Enjoy yourself. Go play your guitars. And most of all, play guitars with other people. That's the key. If you guys like what you're seeing here, please give me a thumbs up on the way out. That's super important. And of course, don't forget all of the reviews and videos I put out during the week as well. I encourage you guys to watch those as well. It helps the channel and it helps us get more people on the live shows. All right? All right. Steven says the tier was only 5 minutes. Actually, it was 45. But it's okay. We'll try it again next time. All right. Have a good one, guys. See you next week. Take care.